So the cop said, "Are there any illegal drugs in the car?" I said, "Yeah, there's some cannabis, but it's okay. I'm a Rastafarian, it's my First Amendment right." Two dreadlocks and a baby dreadlock. All three of us dreadlocks. What I went through was a story for another day. Jail, lost my son a couple months. One of the biggest nightmares that I could ever go through. The only thing that the cops really did wrong was leave my son in the car for over an hour in the middle of July. I think it was July or June. It was hot, like 90 degrees. We were in a cop car with air conditioner on, but they wanted to leave my son in the car to show child services what a mess he was. We just went to Taco Bell and had been eating burritos, and he had it smeared all over him. But besides that, they didn't really do anything wrong. It was a battle that was fought in court, and we lost. It was a nightmare. I really learned to resent my country that day. Went through a lot of pain. All my life I've been taught that we have religious freedom. You know, all through school we had like a play on it, and you're lucky to be in America where there's religious freedom. And I went through all of this trouble to find my truth, to research many religions. That's another story for another time. I've talked about it on some of my other videos. Finally found my truth. Turned out to be Rastafarianism, the religion like Bob Marley. And then it's not legal. You know, I learned through that experience that the First Amendment right doesn't make something illegal legal. It only makes things legal that are already legal. Now here we are, 2020, and all these riots and everything going on, the BLM. You would think I would be all excited about the BLM, everything I've gone through. Before finding Rasta, the reason I went to Rasta was to get answers, because I was in a bad relationship for a year where I was severely verbally abused and minorly physically abused. Like every day for a year we lived together. And what I went through was unspeakable. And my abuser was black. And we would go, the abuse was always about racism. It was always that I was white. We would go out to eat or something like that, and some white people would be uncomfortable that we were a white person and a black person, and would use the N-word in front of us or something like that. And then when we'd get home, I would get verbally abused and slapped around and scratched and kicked and my hair pulled and just like go through all this stuff, and then I still would have to have sex with them, and it was just, you know, I was just so submissive and so weak. I'd never heard of toxic people before, so I didn't really know better. And so I was just like, yes, whatever you say, and out fighting their battles, and just, you know, I was just completely submissive to the whole thing. But it hurt me on a way that's wrong. It hurt my soul. I lost some of my shine. It hurt my soul in a way where there's a part of my soul that will always be crying forever and ever. I don't know if it's possible to get over it. I've gotten over it in so many ways. I've actually grown from the whole thing. In a way, I'm thankful it happened, but there's still something that was beat up really bad. If you like beat someone up bad enough, their nose will be crooked, or they'll be disfigured or something like that forever. You know what I mean? So it's just that's how this was. But spiritually, to my soul, I couldn't believe someone was so angry. You know, I'd never seen someone so angry and so full of hate. And I'd never seen, like, even in the worst horror movie I'd ever seen someone be like, we were in love. How could you treat someone you're in love with like that? You know, just because I'm white and they're white, and so now you beat me up because I represent all white people. It was just an evil that I would have never dreamed possible. And of course, everybody thinks they know everything about what evil is. So you might ask me, so what do you think about the the BLM? Well, I like some of the things. I like a lot of the things, and I don't like some of the things too. And, that's why after that abuse, I had to study. I had to find God again, and I also had to have answers about why the world's like. I realized the world is so full of so much hatred and racism. I mean, I would have thought that I knew that, but I was wrong. It was much worse than I could have imagined, and I needed answers. Like, what is this all about? Why is this happening? So I had no idea I would end up becoming Rasta myself. It was more like I was just trying to get answers from him, from someone that's not going to beat me up or anything like that. So I'm all for, what I'm for is the re-education of people. I'm kind of like a school teacher approach. I'm very pro, let's re-educate everybody. Let's tell the other half of the story that hasn't been said. And let's do this right this time. So it's more like a re-education thing, like a school teacher thing. But I don't know, bringing politics into it, it's like, ew, I'm not really into politics. I don't trust politics. And the BLM brings up, for example, transgender people, rolls it right up in there. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I don't know what it's like not to be transgender, but my hell, it doesn't matter what America's arguing about. Transgender people get brought up during every single argument there is. It's our fault. People think that white people, the BLM blames white people. Holy hell. Literally everybody blames transgender people for everything. It's like, what the hell? How can you guys bring that up? Like, I saw this guy talking about communism, and he's like, oh, the reason communism is bad is because it's like in our country how there's all these transgender people. I'm like, what? How is that proof that communism's bad? What are you talking about? So like the BLM brings up transgender people, and that's good. If they want to help us, that's great. But they're taking a political stand, and I'm old enough. I've seen politicians. They tell you exactly what you want to hear, but they never, once they're elected, they don't do the things they say. Like, I don't trust them at all. It's all just a bunch of BS, if you ask me. Like black people, and generally there's lots of black people that love transgender people, but generally black people are not very pro transgender people. I don't know, go ahead and talk to your friends. Like, it's not one of their passions or loves or concerns or anything. Why is it getting rolled up? It's a little obvious. It's because it's political, and they're trying to win votes. They're trying to get the transgender people to vote with them and think the BLM's cool and everything. So, yeah, if they can help us, that's great. Please do. But, forgive me for being skeptical, but I am. But I can admit that this battle, at this point, it's going to take some politics to fix, not just re-education and hugs and loves and the things like I would say if you gave me a microphone. It's going to take some politics. I admit that, but I warn white people. I mean, not white people, but youths especially. I warn all the youths, whether they're white or not, about what might really be going on. Basically, I can see the spirit of my abuser in these behaviors. They can be very toxic. People can be very charming, but you have to look at their fruits and see. Well, it's just, you have to kind of look into a little bit with some intelligence and some wisdom. Like fighting racism with racism and hate, and beating the submissives down so you can take their stuff and get everything, even stuff from their souls and everything. You think that's extreme, but in prisons and jails, that's what, there's toxic people that can recognize, they can see when someone's that kind of a submissive person, and they'll beat you down. And if they can beat you down, take everything, and even hurt your soul and beat your soul to pieces too at the same time, it's just going to feel extra good to them. They're going to like that. And you're going to be like, oh, what do I do to deserve this? But that's just, if you say that, they're just like, oh, that's like candy to their soul. They're like, that felt so good that it hurt that person's soul. So it's like don't be naive. If somebody's coming to get you, like, what does, why, like that, think about it. What they're saying that white people should sell their property and give some of it to black people and that, no. That's the same. It's just, no, you build the future. You build schools and training for jobs, especially in poor neighborhoods where there's lots of black people, but make it for everybody, not just black people. And like, if you listen to what the problem is, the solution can't be racism and that, because that's like a pipe dream, thinking that racism is going to fix racism. You can see from their perspective why that would seem like it's going to work. The psychologists call it flying monkeys. Don't be the narcissist flying monkeys. You can research that subject. Research flying monkeys, narcissists. This type of thing will hurt not only white people, but it'll hurt all good people. If we do this the wrong way, it's going to hurt all good people. Like bringing transgender people into it. Then what? Then what if you're just making the people, like, you're just making more people not like transgender people unless you can win this battle. You know what I mean? But why did you have to bring us into it? I guess you should try, but we'll see. It doesn't look like you're doing it the right way. That's not us that did the hate and racism and things like that. Yeah, but you're still acting like a toxic person by telling people that white people, they need to, pretend, like experience all these things and give everything of themselves and stuff like that. Come on. According to Bible prophecy, the antagonists will take over our country, America, with a communist theme. They'll take over our buildings and all our property and put us into slavery. So who knows if prophecy is really going to happen like it says, but it's just something to keep in mind. This could all just be something that's preparing us, beating us down. Like, once you're beaten down, like some of these kids, they don't know what it's like to just get beat in your soul and just get smashed in the ground with satanic hatred. Like, you're just going to keep, even though they're bad people, you're going to keep submitting. Why do you think people always go back to their abusers all the time? Because it beats you down, and it's hard to explain, but you don't want to experience that. Dale Carnegie talks about in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he goes into jails and prisons and interviews the killers and the most horrible people that have done the most horrible things. And he proved that no matter how bad of a thing a person does, they never think they did anything wrong. No matter how many people they've killed, you ask them, they've got it all justified and figured out how they're a good person. Humans, it's human nature, can admit they're wrong, can apologize, always blames everyone else and claims to have the real truth. That's just human nature. So that's who you're dealing with, whether they're white or whatever they are. That's who. So you're going to fix that, but with revenge and all these stupid things. It has, whatever it is, it has to be more of a spiritual thing. It has to make sense in everybody's mind the right way, not through bad ways. If we want a real change that's going to last in the future and actually fix these problems. See the difference? Anything else is a doubled standard and hypocritical. How obvious it is that it keeps boiling down to the left and the right, So now racism's a left versus right thing. Like, it wasn't like that in the past. Was the left it was the lefts, then the rights, then the rights, then the lefts, but like, what the hell? This is a spiritual battle, not a political one. I think it's a little obvious, And the other side, the right, so I've talked about the left, who actually I'm more on the left side than the right. I like the BLM, and I definitely can't stand the right side, but I like some of their points. Some of the points I've made just now are actually sides that, like, the right would say, yeah, there we go, that's what I think. But the right side's just as bad. They say, we believe in freedom and we believe in religious freedom, and you're fighting racism with racism, and it makes it sound like they get it, but then they bring up transgender people and and they're like all these transgender people thinking that I should be able to do this for them and that for them, you know, what's this world coming to? It's like, that's hypocritical, that's a double standard. Didn't you just say, you know, all lives matter? All lives matter, all lives matter. It's like, do all lives matter or do they not? What, like, what? Well, no, not if it's transgender people. What? You gotta, you know, do you guys want to fix this problem or not? Hypocritical bullshit is on all sides of the argument, you know? Maybe us transgender people are you know, we're probably the smallest minority. Maybe it's because we're an easy target, so we get drugged around and made examples of, you know, but that's weak. It's a double standard and it's hypocritical. You know, those are religious beliefs. They can believe that about transgender people, but bringing it into the politics and the law of the land and everything, and then claiming to believe in religious freedom and that, like, that doesn't sound like someone that's very serious about religious freedom, if you ask me. So how can you expect the youth to, you know, I would say to the right, you know, how can you get on the youth for having communist tendencies and all this stuff when you do stupid stuff like that? Like, you know, the youth see you do that, and that's like, to them, they're ahead of you in some ways, and they see the folly of you doing that. You're just making a fool of yourself. How can you expect them to, I mean, who doesn't know that human nature is to fear change? We know when you say, how do you know use these pronouns and that, it's because you fear change. That's change. So you're afraid of change. Hello, who doesn't know the fear of change is part of human nature? And fear leads to hate, and hate leads to anger, and anger leads to the dark side, or whatever Yoda said, you know? I mean, come on. Yoda said it plain right there. You know, like, they lose respect, you know? So if they want to use a little bit of Marxism into it, that wasn't what I was thinking would work, but I don't know everything, you know? If that's what they want, then maybe they're right, you know? It reminds me of when the communist Derg took over Ethiopia in 1974, you know? The emperor just kind of moved out of the way and said, fine, if that's what you guys want to do. He was already in his, like, mid-80s or something like that, and he's like, I guess, you know, if that's what you guys want to do. And they're like, they used all this, like, and look, there's these starving people that you haven't been telling people about. They made it sound like they know everything, and they're going to come in there and fix this with communism. And the starvation problem, it got worse. All the problems got worse. The wars got worse. They didn't fix anything. Turns out the emperor was right. Let's educate people and build a future and modernize things so that we can fix our own problems. That's what I think about America right now. You know, it's not so much a political thing. It's a spiritual thing and a re-education thing and a building a future where people can help themselves, not handouts. Handouts, you know, like the food that was, some of that food that with Live Aid and stuff that was sent to Ethiopia to feed the starving people, they couldn't even eat it in time before it got mildewy, and then now that they were just back to starving again. You know what I mean? Like, all these people that thought the emperor was, like, they were wrong. You fix problems with education and spirituality and building a future that's functional and working and all-encompassing. So as far as me, I choose love. You know, so I can't really fully endorse either side of it, the left or the right, the BLM or the Republicans or whatever, you know. It just seems like this big ugly mess, kind of like when a dog, while the owner's gone, is ripping all the stuffing out of the pillows, you know. And then you come home and you can see why it makes sense. I can see why that dog thought that was fun, but I can't have that dog ripping all the stuff out of the pillows all the time, you know. So we can't go around destroying all our pillows, you know. I mean, it makes sense for a second, but then when it's time to go to bed, you're not going to have a pillow to put your head on. Chuck E. Cheese.